Hi, everybody. John Carrots here on OSH Radio, and I'm here again with Lincoln Cannon. And as you probably know from before, he is what is your title exactly with Thrivus?
CEO.
CEO of Thrivus, which I've been doing my blog. I think I've done about four different ones on different things that your company provides and sells, and they're very great products. But today, what I thought of is since Lincoln here is dealing with nutrition and we're dealing with health issue right now, most of us are locked in the house and not able to go anything. And maybe he has some ideas of what we could be doing health-wise, and maybe there's some products that he would recommend that we could be taking. So, what do you think there, Lincoln? What ideas do you have during this time of national emergency?
Yeah, great question. One thing that I'd like to say first of all is that I've heard a lot of people talk about, make some really unjustified claims about supplements that can cure or treat or prevent COVID-19, and there's just no science behind those sorts of claims right now. There may be someday. But it doesn't exist now. So when you hear people make claims like that, my first recommendation would be turn around and walk the other direction, because that person's just trying to sell you something at the expense of real science. Uh, there's just no evidence there right now.
Well, I know some people got in trouble for selling the silver. I guess what would you call it? Silver solution, silver water, uh, and I guess some silver water has been shown to kill some things, but they don't know what would kill this disease or this virus right now. And I even have concerns myself with them saying that the Z-Pack has some effect, because my understanding of Z-Packs were the fact that most diseases had developed a tolerance to it because they were over prescribing Z-Pack a number of years ago.
Hmm.
So I'm concerned that they're saying that that is an option just because people know the name. I'm not sure that what they're broadcasting, even on the main news, is actually factual. I hate to be, we always joke about that. I don't believe in conspiracies, but uh, both the drugs that they said might have an effect seem to be the fact they just pulled popular drugs that people know the names of and said these seem to be working. And like I said, I know Z-Packs, most strains of things had developed a resistance to Z-Pack because of overuse. So I don't know. I'm never sure if they're just doing that to make us feel better also. So I don't know
Yeah,
what your feelings are, but
it's hard to say. What I do know is that there is a lot of research being done. If you go on to PubMed, for example, and do a search for COVID-19 and the word drugs or the word supplements, you will find lots and lots of research being done by real scientists with great credentials from universities. And so world to be optimistic about eventually coming up with therapies, with interventions that will maybe mitigate the side effects or actually directly impact them, maybe cures. At least I think something like vaccines, like we have with the common flu, those things are coming. The caution I'm giving is just don't don't be dishonest with ourselves or with
hmm,
other people in making claims that aren't yet justified.
right,
and
right.
and so people just they read a news article or they read a friend's blog or Facebook post, and they see these really strong unjustified claims, but maybe they haven't been educated in how best to think critically about the scientific justification of these sorts of claims. And so they kind of just go with it and they reshare it, and then the claims evolve and they get bigger and better, and suddenly you got a person on your porch selling you something that will guarantee that you'll never
Snake
get
oil.
COVID-19. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
the
it's
whisper
happening,
down the
right?
alley.
It's sad,
Yeah,
but on the flip side, what it does is it represents real hope and even a sort of confidence that we are going to find ways to deal with it. The fact that people believe that it's possible already indicates that we're hoping that it's possible, and that we trust that we can find possibilities and work through them and make and realize them in practice. So this is not an entirely bad phenomenon, but gullibility can also harm people. And
Well,
some people,
gullibility through hope. They have hope, so they become gullible. So
yeah, I mean, hope is not a bad thing, but when it's not coupled with with critical thinking skills, it can become a bad thing, right? It can be used against you to harm you and people you love. So I'm not against hope at all. Please, let's all be hopeful, but let's continue to be critical thinkers too.
So, what do you think, from your experience, that people could be doing? Not necessarily, I'm not saying to cure the disease if you get it, but to help them even just get through this isolation. What do you look as being the CEO of a nutritional company and a company that's helping people to thrive and thriveous? What do you think we could be doing or taking or what would your advice be?
Yeah. So my top advice would be uh, either continue or maybe start for the first time, depending on who you are, some of those very basic good lifestyle choices that we all kind of know we should be doing. So number one, if you're not getting adequate sleep every night, start sleeping more. You know, if you can. I know some people they have challenges with insomnia and such, but if it's because you're just not making good decisions about going to bed at a good hour or you're waking up earlier than you should, stop it. Change, rearrange your schedule and start getting a good amount of sleep every night. It's one of the best things you can do to stay healthy all the time. And it also makes you think better and clearer and faster, and all kinds of good effects arise from making good sleep decisions. Number two, good nutrition in a general sense. Try not to just be binging on junk food while you're in seclusion in your house. Oh, I don't have to go to work anymore, so I'm going to sit here and eat a whole bag of candy today or something like that. That's probably not going to help you stay healthy. In fact, more likely than not, that's going to reduce your natural defenses against anything, including COVID-19, and you'll be more unhappy than you need to be as a consequence. So eat healthy. And part of eating healthy, of course, is to the extent that your diet isn't optimized in various ways, you can use supplements to help with that. And there's some ways that supplements can also improve areas of your nutrition that you simply can't do through a regular diet. So those are things that you can look at. Another thing that I highly recommend right now, because lots of people are very stressed, and stress has a way of making us less productive, less kind, and less cooperative. And those are all
I've
things that are
I've
going.
been seeing that at some of my jobs. It's amazing how people are getting more tense, and I have to admit, sometimes it's difficult also dealing with them when you can tell they're more tense, even though it's because they're shut in, and then when they finally do get out, they have a rough time of it.
Yeah, they really do. And it's a real challenge for all of us, right? This is a stressful time. For some of us, maybe more than certainly more than for others, because some of us are facing harder difficulties right now than others. But we're all facing some amount of um, unusual stress. And one of the things I'd recommend to everybody is, and there's lots of ways to approach this depending on your background. You don't have to be a religious person or a spiritual person per se, but there are ways to meditate and relax, and maybe it's yoga if you aren't into a particular spiritual or religious tradition. Maybe it is full on meditation in the formal sense, the ritualistic sense. If you're a Buddhist, if you're a Christian, pray. Particularly prayers of gratitude are going to be very effective at relieving stress. These are all things that we can do to put ourselves into a better mental, aesthetic space, spiritual space, if you want to call it that. And then we'll reap the rewards individually and collectively from being in a better place with our minds, with our mental state.
I mean, now you said that, not meaning to plug somebody else, but I know Chopra's been doing a free meditation for like 20 some days that started like 8 days ago, I think. So that was kind of nice that he'll do that sometimes. So it's kind of nice for people too. But yeah, I mean, just the downtime to relax and regain your mind and get your thoughts together. Sometimes you need that. But
Yeah.
so now we talked a little bit about that, and before we talked about your supplements and stuff. What any new plans you have for Thrivus and your supplements, or any other new divisions of Thrivus coming up that you could maybe give us a sneak peek or a sneak idea of?
Sure. Yeah. So right now we're on the verge of announcing a couple of product formula enhancements. One of the enhancements will be to Clarity and one to Alpha. So you'll see press releases coming out about those here in the next few weeks. We haven't stopped working. We have stressors on our business like everybody does right now, but we're going to keep going. And one of the things we're doing very shortly is introducing some enhancements to a couple of our products that I think people will like. So those are coming in the near term.
Clarity is one of the things I found I've liked on days when I work all 3 jobs in one day. I use it throughout the day just to keep myself a little bit more alert, if you know what I mean, and keep my brain functioning just a little bit better. And if it really gets bad, I use the Surge.
Perfect. Yeah, I do the same. Clarity, I use it every day, and the most notable effect for me over the years that I've used it is that it helps me work longer, harder than I could otherwise. So, if I ordinarily would be able to put in, say, an 8-hour effective workday, Clarity stretches that out longer, and I get more done than I can when I don't use it.
So sorry, so that was you said, so your Clarity you're updating, and what else did you say you were working on? Or was
Alpha Neuroprotector. Yeah, and that product complements Clarity. It's our nootropic that targets long-term brain health. So, the kind of thing where we hope that it's going to work, and the science backs this up, this hope, that it's going to work to mitigate some of the effects of aging as you use it over extended periods of time.
Okay, so is there any other things that Thrive has upcoming that that you would want to talk about, or any ideas you have in the works that I don't know about, or not at this time?
Nothing specific at this time. We are investigating various kinds of services for our customers, and we have some product expansions that we're exploring and hoping to get to. The long-term goals of Thrivus are to be a lifestyle support company for human enhancement enthusiasts. And supplements was a great way to get started in that space because it's something that people understand and can use, and it's not very expensive. Over time, we hope to help people expand into other areas that can improve cognition and healthy longevity.
I mean, you had talked before too about the fact that activity is very important, and it's good for people to be getting out and doing things, especially during this time with this people being socially distanced. It's good for people to get out and do walks and do something healthy. I miss the actual gym. I have one of those gym memberships to one of the gyms where you have to use a card to get in, and it's like, to me, it's like, why is that one closed? Because there's usually hardly anybody ever in there because you get in there by yourself, basically. But that I notice is a stress issue. I have some minor stuff at home, but it is different because that used to be my stress release. Used to be going to the gym. You work a couple of jobs. Right now. I'm working 3 jobs, and getting to the gym would be my way to de-stress. So now you don't have that as much. But luckily, I did buy a new punching bag about 2 weeks before that.
Nice.
So I have that. Punching bag's probably not as happy about it though, because it takes some of the stress that would have been worked out at the gym. But I think that's an important thing for people to realize. I think in this day and age, and I don't mean this against supplements bad, but I find that you're lifting at the gym and somebody sees how you're lifting, and they don't ask you about your routine or what you like to do. They ask you about what supplements you're taking. It's like we had mentioned that about creatine before too. I read an article where they say creatine or lifting. It's like, well, it really doesn't help you much if you don't lift. If you just take it. So, I mean, people have to still get out and do the exercise and be healthy. You have to be healthy. Like you said, you have to sleep. You have to do all those things. And the supplements greatly help you. I'll have to admit, there's times you do that because if you didn't, you'd probably crash and burn. But they need to be healthy too. I mean, you can't burn the candle at every end. You can't burn that candle at 3 ends. It only has 2. So.
Yeah,
But,
for sure. Yeah, and to echo that, I agree. Maybe I'm a gym rat like you. I love to get to the gym. It's a great stress relief for me. My gym's closed too. Nobody can go to it. Fortunately, the gym that I go to has been really quite gracious with all of its customers. It's stopped charging us while they're closed, and our memberships will all start up automatically someday when the apocalypse is over. Yeah. But in the meantime, one of the things I've been
apocalypse.
Yeah.
Go on, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's a
what have
weird
you been
time.
doing in the meantime? I'm sorry.
One of the things I'm doing is I'm hiking in the mountains with my family. Right, so we'll go up on some trail maybe that we've been on before or that we haven't been on before. See new sights in the mountains or out in the desert. In Utah, there's tons of beautiful hiking trails. There's probably things like that in most places, unless you live in a very urban area, where you can get out into nature. There aren't a lot of people around, and you can recharge while also moving your body, and that's going to relieve stress, as you pointed out.
Well, here's an interesting idea for you. That sounds very beautiful. And you said that's not too far from where you're at physically,
No,
where
not at
you live.
all. We have mountains practically next door.
Have you ever thought about doing retreats? Thrive is doing retreats for people, like healthy weeks or weekends for them to just get away and relax and maybe focus themselves. Have you ever thought about doing that?
We haven't thought about that at length. No, the idea, similar ideas to that have like crossed my mind, but now that you're bringing it up as something that you think our customers would be interested in, I'm going to look at it much
Yeah, I
more
think that that might be interesting. I
seriously.
mean, because other people like to do the retreats, and you just said how beautiful it is there, and it's like that might be something people might want to share with you. And like you said earlier about meditation, and to be honest with you, people sometimes get worried or upset when you start talking about prayer. But I was on a flight one time from China to Egypt, and they actually had the plane was a Muslim plane, and before the flight could start, they actually had prayer. And I'm not Muslim, but I thought to myself, this is actually kind of nice. I mean, we're going on like a 11-hour flight and we're starting with a prayer. And I thought, I actually kind of like that. Doesn't matter to me that it wasn't a prayer that I knew. I liked the fact it made me feel good that we started a 11-hour flight with a prayer. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought that was a nice way to start, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
there
some
with you.
people, it didn't matter to me that it was a Muslim prayer. It was still prayer. And I mean, the main three, Christianity, Muslim, and Jewishness all starts from Abraham. So it's not like it's that far apart. So I wasn't that concerned, but it made me feel good to start with the prayer, especially after that long of knowing you were going in for that long a flight. So it was a I don't know what you could say. It was a centering. It was a nice way to start,
Yeah,
and
it
I
is
think that would be
centering.
important to important to people.
Yeah, it can be
I
a
think
way
that's
of
the thing
us
also.
expressing our hopes for each other, expressing well wishes for our well-being toward each other, expressing our hopes. Prayers can also be misused, of course. I've heard people pray for things like, I hope these other people that I don't like will be banished to hell or something like that. But but when we use prayer to express good feelings and good hopes for each other, yeah, I find that a pleasant experience too, and a stress relieving one. So yeah, I'm there with you on your assessment.
I saw something interesting yesterday. I don't know if you saw. I had posted on the Transhumanistic Party's website was about they are making actually robot priests and monks and stuff to do prayers for people and stuff. And I thought, that's an interesting crossover. I am one, and I know you're like this too. I don't think there needs to be a conflict between science and religion. A lot of people that are scientists are not atheists. Like some groups like to say that scientists are atheists, and that's not the majority. That's like the minority.
Agreed.
And I think when most people, I don't mean to be going down a tangent here, but I think when most people think of how much there is, sometimes you wonder how can there not be something more. And and the fact that they're using robots to assist with prayer and stuff. I think that's a good direction. I mean, and it's interesting thing, and I'm thinking about writing a book on that, theology and AI, working
Do
in
it.
together. And but I mean, like I think I don't know if you told this before. I went and studied for a little bit at the Shaolin Temple because I've done karate and martial arts since I was 7. But I did that a couple years ago, and it upset me because I went to Tibet and stuff, and well, in China, and a lot of the monks were on their laptops and their iPhones and their iPads, and I'm like, oh, I thought they'd be meditating and praying, and at first I was a little upset, but actually the internet and the computers are still tools that can be helped for you with your spiritual searches and your spiritual beliefs too. I mean, you can
For
look up
sure.
things. There's meditations for you to do, and it can be a tool. I
Yeah. And
mean,
it can help us practice religion better, right? Heaven forbid that even religion can get better, right?
exactly, because I think you think about your health of your body and your nutrition for your body and sleeping, but we have to be spiritually healthy also. Because if we're spiritually healthy, and that, I don't mean that because you don't want to worry people about, oh, now they're talking about God, but I mean any way you view spirituality, if you got to be fully healthy, your whole body. You know what I mean? Your body, your mind, and everything. And I think that's important too. And I think people sometimes miss that. And that's one thing during this time when people are locked in together too. We got to keep our hopes good, and we got to keep
Yeah.
our spiritualness in line. And
Right.
you
Find
know,
purpose, find hope, find groundedness, find the motivation to cooperate and have compassion. These are great things for all of us, whether or not we say that we believe in God, whether or not we say that we believe in a particular religion, those things are interesting questions. I love those questions. But more important than those sectarian notions is the human well-being that comes from having purpose, having
right.
compassion, having a sense of groundedness and connectedness.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lincoln, I won't keep you much longer, but I'm glad to touch base with you again. And during this time, we all have to keep ourselves a level head. And I think what comes out of this, we got to seek out everything: nutrition, uh, be spiritually centered, make sure we get enough sleep. And I guess the main thing, I think the most important thing is probably for us to try and help each other and help each other from a distance. What do you think
Yeah,
of that?
totally
I
agree.
mean, and try not to be mean to each other because we're frustrated because we're stuck in the house.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people being a little aggravated and stuff. But so I don't know what else would you like to say in closing about anything about Thrivus or about life and purpose in general?
Well, I'm thankful that you've had me on your show again, John. It's a pleasure speaking with you. And, Thrivus, we're doing our best to provide a good service for people, a good product for people to make their lives better so that they have more capacity to achieve the goals that they care about. And so many of those goals are goals related to making our world a better place, right? And right now, some of those goals are specifically about combating the ill effects of COVID-19. So if Thrivus can make a contribution to making you a little bit sharper, to making you a little bit healthier, to making you a little bit more likely to live in a way that makes you feel good about what you're doing, well, then we're, of course, happy to help with that. And that's our mission.
And just to make sure people remember, that's thrivus.com, THRIVOUS, right?
That's
.com.
correct.
Just make sure I'm a horrible speller. So, but yeah, thank you very much. And hopefully, I'll have you on again, and we'll talk about some new products and some new things, and we'll go to your one of your retreats up there. No,
Yeah. Like I
I
said, I'm going to look into that.
or I got to just visit you personally and be in one of those retreats when we're allowed to be with people again.
There you go.
So,
Let's do
or
it.
virtually, we can do it virtually. No, that wouldn't be the same.
Not
Well,
quite.
thank you very much, Lincoln, and I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, John.